And coffee. Got my coffee here. Yum. Okay, very good. Uh, okay, let's get started. Um, a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, we're starting to see certain economies here in the United States open up, and they're leaving it up to obviously the governor, our leaders within these particular areas to do what they wish with how they want to reopen. Um, and so we see that happening. Um, so a little bit of news, right, just to get you started. But what I've been doing, as you guys know, I don't listen to the media. I just don't watch TV. I don't watch news. I do get some of my news from, Facebook, that kind of stuff where people will share stuff and I'll kind of look into it or I'll listen to the World Health Organization when they go live, those types of things. And I get little hints here and there of what's going on because I live in a house with people who do watch the news, and sometimes I hear things, but mostly don't. Right? About 99% of the time, I don't. I do get my information, statistics, and I'll go on places and read articles and stuff like that to figure out kind of what's going on so that I can keep myself informed as to what's going on. Okay. Good morning, Seal. Seal, I think that's how you say your name. Okay. So what is it that I'm doing? I'm doing research, and I'm very excited that I did this research. That and what I found is what I'm excited about. What I found, um, found whole new thought processes that I didn't know existed before. Because you can search down the rabbit hole, right? When we talk about God, or we talk about God's law, or we talk about anything like that, we know that we're not God, right? And so if God is in everything, there's going to be different ways that God will talk to you, right? Different processes, different forms, different ways of communicating with individuals. We don't all speak the same language. We don't all come from the same cultural environment, right? Like, we all have different, maybe, environments that we live in. And because of that, because we live in different environments, we have different ways of describing things. And so we understand that when we're speaking about God in the phenomena that we see around us, it's going to come out a little bit different. We know that language will change and whatnot. I did talk to you guys about doing the etymology of the word, um, and looking up etymologies of words. And I told you guys this so that you guys can learn how to do critical thinking for yourself and to teach your children how to do critical thinking. Sorry, I'm moving this camera everywhere. Okay. And the reason why is because we're in a state right now where we need to be critical thinkers for ourselves. How do we critically think for ourselves? Not an easy thing to do if you were not taught the process on how to do this. And that's why people will just follow the propaganda, what's popular, what their friend said, what some video person is telling you that doesn't have any facts or anything like that. Okay. And we start to have all this information, don't know what to do with it, don't know how to utilize the information. And so what I've done is, and Susan's not on here, which is kind of sad because she was the person who asked me to do this. As I told you yesterday, I looked up the words and I looked up the etymology of the words. And one word that I looked up the etymology of was corona, because I wanted to understand what did the word mean. And we know it means crown. Okay. I didn't know that at first. I didn't know that. I had no idea. Okay. And so I looked it up and I figured it out. And in that understanding, it circled always back to the stars, right? Because when we look at words, when we understand words, I'm going to take you a little history lesson. When we look at words, they're always going to relate back to the stars, typically, or nature, because when we were in ancient times, we were able to look at the sky, and we used the sky as a storyline. We used the sky, we looked to the heavens to describe what was happening here, what was manifest on this planet, what was happening in the cosmos. We knew that God said, hey, look at the sky, look at the heavens, look to the heavens. God is talking to you through the heavens, right? Through nature. Um, and so we did this type of thing. So typically words are going to relate back to ancient phenomena and when we came up with it. When we think about astrology, astronomy, astrophysics, all of these things are really trying to describe how do we engage with the cosmic, with everything that's happening in the cosmos. How do we get out to space? How do we calculate certain things? How do we design certain things? And then sacred geometry comes out, right? Okay. So again, we're looking at the etymology of the words. Okay. So now looking at the etymology of the word corona, which led me to the cosmos. And I wanted to see what's the stars had to say. And I found the stories, right, of, and I think I'm saying it right, Corona Bacillus, which is it's a Greek myth, and it's a myth in several different cultures and tribes that talk about this particular constellation that is the crown in the sky. And what that led me to is a whole new thought or way of thinking into a person who actually was and I forget his name. I have to pull it up because oof, it's early in the morning and my brain, I don't know if it's working so great. But he was a doctor of philosophy, of religion, of all of that stuff, and he put, so here I'm going to try to break it up for you. He put the ages into a timeline, a process. And I think what the understanding is that he believes that there's a process and an era and the ages that people go through within the Bible text, right? So if we looked at the text of the Bible, he broke it down into eras, and he said, okay, we are in the era of the fall, and the fall of Adam and Eve, and then we started to move through this timeline that was created based off the Bible text, okay? And I like it because what it does is it sort of gives us an idea of where we are, what is to come, okay, and understanding it. Okay, so basically what he did is he gave us a process to sort of follow and understand the text so we can understand where we are in this time. It leads us right back to the crown, which is interesting, right? Because this virus called the corona, we're seeing sort of what's happening with all these quote unquote leaders who are supposed to tell us what to do, how to behave, what to think, how to think, and all of these things rather than formulating our own ideas. How did we get so far away from God's law? How did we get so far away from the love and understanding of how the process of natural law works? How is it that we are continuing to look to human humans to tell us how we should engage our bodies, how we should take care of our bodies? You know, people, I'm going to go on a little rant about doctors. People talk about doctors, okay? Now, doctors, everybody's like, oh, all of a sudden everybody's a scientist and a doctor. No, I'm not a scientist, nor am I a doctor, nor do I want to be. Why? Because I have God, and God is my remedy. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I don't mean that I look to the sky and say, God, heal me. That's not how it works. There is action that needs to happen when you're co creating with God, action that needs to take place. So, what action, right, am I talking about? I'm talking about action in what you put in your mouth. How do you treat your body? Be a doctor of your own body. Doctors do not live in your body. Okay. Doctors don't, and neither do scientists. And in fact, when people want to listen to scientists or believe in scientists, all they're doing is working on theoretical models. There are some facts that exist in their work, but everything is just a theory, right? A lot of the stuff that they're talking about is not factual. You can't, causation, you can never get to causation. Well, maybe like even with this whole thing, oh, well, maybe it was the bats, or maybe it was this, or maybe it was that. How about viruses happen? How about that's part of nature? How about we can never stop viruses from happening? How about we have viruses in our body right now as they exist? How about that's been life since the beginning of time? How about viruses are viruses because they're viruses? right? How about we have a body, and that if we nurture it, we know that we can fight most viruses, that our body will, our immune system will sustain it and get rid of it. We know that. We know that. And all of a sudden we're afraid of what? Nature, God, all of a sudden. So I broke it down into two parts, and I'm going to pick this up because she had asked me to look up the etymology of the word virus, right? Because I looked up the etymology of the word corona, which led me into the stars, which led me into the works of a gentleman who broke out where we are in the, what I want to call not end times, but where we are in Revelations, which was kind of cool because I was like, oh, wow, this makes sense. And it makes sense when you look at what's going on around us, right? It talks about the crown, the fall of the crown, and it talks about the true crown of God and how God will come and God will be the final say, right? And that those people who are learning God's word right now, okay, people that are waking up to who they are, okay, those individuals are okay. Now, the ones that don't pick it up and wake up and start to follow God's law, it's not doomsday for them, okay? It's not like they're gonna go, like they talk about this fiery pit, okay? Not my belief system. What I believe is that they end up coming back, what I call reincarnation. You guys don't have to believe this, and they have to repeat again until they can wake up and remember that they are God and that God is the all God, okay, or the universe, whatever you call it, okay? I'm gonna call it God or Yahweh, whatever works for you, okay? So I looked up virus, and it says of the nature are caused by, okay, it becomes suddenly, oh, that's viral, sorry. Not viral. We want to look up virus. Let me put virus. Okay. And it's poison is basically what it says. It says a sticky poison is what a virus is. And that's the etymology of the word. Okay. And here we go. So I'll read it just so it's a poisonous substance from the Latin virus, poison sap of plants, slimy liquid, a potent juice. Okay. Poison, which is probably from the pyroot, perhaps originally meaning to melt away, to flow, used for foul, um, malodorous fluids, but specialization in some language of poisonous fluids. Okay, venom, poison. Okay, poison, sticky substance. Okay, so it's poison again. It's poison. It's sap of a plant. It's liquid. That's what virus. That's what the etymology of the word is. Okay, we could go on um, to read more about what that is and how it morphed into what it is today, right? And there's different things that you can do, but it comes from the word venom. Okay. In Sanskrit, they call it venom. Okay. And that would be through, that's Indian, right? So when we go for Asia is venom. So now we're looking at it from this perspective. Okay. And this is pretty exciting. For those of you who are on here, I have a whole audience of two people. Hey, you know what? God, whoever is here to hear the message is here to hear the message, and it's exciting news. And I certainly wished, let's see, Donna, I don't know who else is on here. Linga Longa. What's it called? I'm blaming Facebook. Haha. Okay. Here's the cool thing. When we look at it, okay, I took some notes because I wanted to understand this from a godly perspective. I said, God, give me some understanding around this whole thing. What is going on? Put me in a position that I can communicate this. Now, I'm new to this information, and so I stumble a little bit, but I will get better at understanding it as I do more research, okay? And that's just the way it goes. Now, I use the trivium, right? As I told you guys, the trivium is the grammar, logic, and then rhetoric. Now, here's the deal. We look at the corona, which is the crown. We look at the word virus, which is poison, okay? Poison or venom, whatever you like better. Here's the deal. The poisoned crown. When we look at the poisoned crown, I in myself have formulated the idea that under the poisoned crown, we will be fed fear. Fear, okay, under the poisoned crown. What is the poisoned crown? Who are the poison crown? What does that even mean? Who's feeding you fear is my question. Look at the people right now that are trying to spoon feed you fear in your heart. Under that, I put fear. Bill Gates. Who? The World Health Organization, CDC, Trump, and the fallen king. Okay? All of the government, all of your TV propaganda, all that stuff is feeding you fear. Be afraid. Be afraid of your neighbor. Okay? That is the poisoned crown. Anybody who is feeding you fear about a poisoned crown, okay, which is the virus, think about it. These are the words that they're using to describe it. They're calling it the poisoned crown. Who is the poisoned crown? What does that mean if we are looking from a godly sense? Now we know, and here's where the dichotomy is breaking up for me, okay, because I believe in love. That's it. But fear itself is a false thing. Fear, if you believe in God and love, then you have nothing to fear because God will be with you always. So asking yourself, who's feeding you? The ego. The ego feeds you fear. God feeds you love. So what is this particular poisonous crown feeding you? Who's feeding it to you? Who are the characters that are showing up to put you in a state of fear? Now, let's look at the other side of this, right? When we talk about the crown, the holy crown, right? When we talk about the righteous crown, when we talk about the crown that is not with poison, but with love and kindness and compassion, we look to God, right? And in that is what? Natural law. On the other side of this, right, which they don't talk about because they're feeding you fear. Who's they? The ones that are feeding you fear. The ego, okay? It's not a person, it's an energy. These people that are embodying the fear-based programming, okay, are feeding it to you are part of the ego, okay? It's not a person. Like my mom asked me, well, who do you think it is? I said, it's not a person, it's an energy. The energy of the ego is manifesting out through people who are feeding you fear through propaganda. They're feeding you the poisoned crown. Stop looking at the poisoned crown. I am so sick of hearing this coronavirus shit, okay? Poison crown, that's what it's telling you. Hey, listen to the poison crown. Come on. Let me show you a little bit of fear. Let me make you afraid of your neighbor. Let me tell you to separate yourself. Let me tell you that separation is the way. That isn't God, you guys. That is not God. That is not what God teaches us. Go to God's teachings. That's not what God says. God says, love thy neighbor. Do not have fear, for I am with you. So we're looking at the programming from the words that are used to describe the phenomena that is happening around us. Now, when we look at this and we look at the crown, right? Good morning, Pam, good morning, Bless, good morning, Antonio. When we start to look at the crown from God's perspective, looking to natural law tells us what? That our body is our temple. If our body is our temple, and we nurture our body as though it is our temple. In other words, eating the food that is going to support us, that is going to make us strong, that we will be able to get through these viruses. But they're not telling us that, right? Because that's not where they want us. That's not where they want our headspace right now. They're feeding us poison right now. Okay? Purposefully. Okay? And so what do they say? They don't say, hey, why don't you guys start to eat healthy organic food? Why don't you start to grow your own gardens? Why don't you? No, they don't. They say stay dependent on all of these manufactured goods that are processed foods that are like, I'm not judging. I'm just telling you the facts. If you look at Cheetos, if you look at like even a lot of these stuff lead to cancer, right? They don't talk about that. They're not talking about that. More people are dying of cancer, slowly dying of sugar and cancer and all these other things. They're not going to tell you to, no, 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 go ahead, eat it. In fact, that's all we're going to have on our shelves today. We're not going to have any more vegetables because they're all going to go bad. So really all you're left with is eating Pringles, which is chemically created from I don't know what. Go ahead, eat it. Now, not a judgment call, but you've got to get very clear about where you are with taking care of your own body, taking care of the church that God gave you. Your church is your God-given vessel. That is God. Not spoon-feeding you fear. It is nearly impossible for people to let go and say, you know what, I trust God 110%. I'm not going to fear this thing. I'm not wearing a mask. No, that's not what's happening. They're telling you wear masks, wear gloves, stay separated. Don't hug your neighbors. Don't even talk to people unless it's through a computer. What? How is that God? Go back to the scripture. It's not God. It's not. And then if your heart of hearts, you don't know that, I don't know what to tell you. It's okay. That's fine. You can disagree with me. You don't have to agree with me. Go do your own research. Read about God. Read. There's books and books and books and books and books about God. It never, ever did it say, I'm a fear, be afraid, because I'm going to program you in fear. It says, I am love. I am kindness. I am compassion. And when you listen to me, you have nothing to fear. The fear comes when you don't. That's what happens. We fear when we're not listening to God because we don't have faith, or there's no faith there. You have to have faith. Now is the time. Wake up. There is no other time like now. The ship is not even, I told you guys 2 years ago, the ship is on dock. The ship is, and then I said the ship is sailing. And I don't know if people are going to get on or not get on. Not my decision, but I'm just here to try to support you guys to wake up, to recognize, to understand. What do you need to do? Prepare. Prepare. Doesn't mean you have to go crazy shopping and store all your food up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying prepare. Learn how to grow a garden. Learn how to eat from the earth. Learn how to go without your comforts of your home, because it may come to that. If you're truly with God, you think that when he led all of his people, right, when he said let my people go, and then Moses led all his people out of there, do you think that it was comfortable? Do you think no, people left comfort behind? It was uncomfortable. They had to sacrifice comforts that they probably were living in for a long time. If you're not going to get a chip in your body, if you're not going to become property of the state, what do you do? Are you preparing for that? Or are you just sitting back and relaxing? Or are you okay with that? And you're like, yeah, I want to be part of that system. That system is not God, it's man made. And that's okay if you want to go there. I definitely want you to come home to God. That's what I would want. And sometimes that means sacrifice. That means sacrificing some of your comforts, learning how to detox from sugar, learning how to eat simple, learning how to let go of eating out every day, learning how to cook your own food. Things that people may not be doing right now because it's not why it's not it's we're so pampered at this point. It's like the ego has us at every angle, and it sucks us in so easily that it's so hard to let go of all the comforts that may come with it. They were eating what birds or fat or whatever they were eating, right? They were eating bread and they were like, I'm sick of eating this. Like, it's almost like the Matrix. The guy says, put me back in the Matrix. I want to eat my steak. I don't want to be here anymore. Put me back into the system. Some people will not they'll not want to leave the system. And that's just the reality. And I think more people are not going to want to leave the system than are. And that's what I believe. Now, I would hope that more people would come to God and let go of this ego driven, fear based system. And some people will. And I'll tell you that I'm not popular TV. I'm not popular. It's very sad to me. It's very sad because for me, it's like how many people will actually have faith and walk in God? How many truly will? Not my decision, not here to judge. I'm just here to teach and support and pray that people do follow God's word, that people do follow in the footsteps of God, and that they trust and have faith so unwavering that they are willing to go 100% all the way. That means rejecting the fear. That means looking at the fear and saying, you know what? No, God's here. God's with me. I know that through and through. Pretty crazy when you start to look at the etymology of words. It is pretty crazy when you start to realize that as above, so below, and as below, so above. The poisoned crown right now is what we're in. Now, I call it the poisoned crown because when you look at the timeline of the way this guy broke down the Bible, which is pretty cool. It was in Revelations. He broke down the Bible. Tells us that there is the king, and I want to pull up the chart, and I wish I could show the chart to you guys, um, because this chart, and perhaps I can do a Be Live video where I share my screen and show people on Facebook Live what I'm talking about, okay? And going over this as sort of an instructional piece to get you to understand what I'm talking about. Because hopefully you guys will do your own research, right? That's what I hope, but that doesn't mean that that's what you're going to do. Hey, Suzanne, good morning. So I'm going to pull up this. It's the dispositionalist, okay? And dispositionalist, right, is a system, and it's considered a biblical. It's divided by God into dispositions, defined by periods and ages, which God has allotted distinctive administrative principles. And I like the idea of administrative principles because it's something that we can understand in our era, right? It's something that we can understand when we hear administrative principles. Everybody understands what that means, right? It means that there's an operation or a system or a process that happens within the whole. And I like that because I'm a process person. So let me just bring up this process really quick. Where we are in the process. There was a chart. I think this is the chart. Let me pull up the chart. Okay, no, that's not it. Hold on one second. Um, okay, there's a couple of charts that this person put together, and I love the charts. Let's see. Okay, I think this one is it. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go through, I'm going to go really quickly through the charts so that you guys understand what I'm talking about. It's the disposition. Okay, that's not it actually. Let me see. There we go. Okay, here it is. So we're looking at the different eras that we're in, right? And we are in, let's see, was this the chart? Oh, I had it up before. See if I can find the chart, you guys. Maybe it's this. We could do this one. Okay, so in the disposition, it breaks it up into administrative, meaning who is the head of each individual, who's leading the charge, basically, as man, and then as the God King himself, which is, we say God, right, rises up and becomes the ultimate, right, where we say, oh God, what did we do? We just really screwed this all up. um I wanted to pull up the chart, so give me just a moment, you guys. I apologize for that. Let's see. No, that's not it. Mhm. Yeah, let's try. Okay. Anyway, I would urge you to look up the dispositionalism, which is quite an interesting concept. Dispositionalism, um, again, it's just to break down, to kind of understand where are we within the timeline, right? So we have where we have, okay, we have the serpent that comes in. So let's go through the timeline. So the timeline is innocence, okay? So at the beginning there was innocence, and then there was a fall from innocence, right? And then there was consciousness, right? Then the flood came, and then the human government came, right? And Babel, where Babel happened and nobody could talk, could understand one another. So Babel happened, right? Then we had family, then law came in. Then there was grace, right? Which is the church, right? The church shows up, and we have, all of the grace, okay? And then we have what's called righteousness, and this is the millennia. Here's where we are, okay? This is where we are. We're in the what they call the righteousness Masonic disposition. Okay. And I love the breakdown of this because it sort of gives us an idea of where we are. Then we go into, I think, Revelations, and then we go into the paradise, right? Um, so we have priesthood, right? And then we have priesthood. So we have what's called the Pope, the priest, we have the queen, we have all these characters that show up, right? And right now, the priest, the Pope, all these things trying to say, act as though they are God. Well, they're not God, right? But they're still sitting on their high chair looking at the masses like they're here to call the shots, okay? So you got to kind of look at it from that perspective. Who's calling the shots? Are they, or is God? Are they allowing God to? Are they working in God's name? Are they working for their own self pride? Now, here's the deal. In this age, in this millennia, there are two things happening, right, within the individual ego. Okay. There is pride and there's manipulation and deception. We get that in the serpent and the lion. Okay. The serpent, right? And people will talk about reptilians and all these things. The serpent was there to manipulate. Now, are these concepts that I'm talking about new? No. Think about the serpent. When we think about the serpent and the snake and the manipulation, that was at the beginning of time with Adam and Eve, right? Right now, we're in an age where the ego is fighting to stay alive through manipulation and through pride. So really, if you want to look at the world leaders right now and you want to look who, like, oh, who am I following? I would say don't follow human at all. Go follow God. Go start reading scripture. Go start looking and doing your own research through God's eyes, not through human eyes. But we can sort of look and figure out who the characters are and what they're playing out within the religious text if you start to understand what the meaning behind these characters are. The snake is manipulation in the stories, right? So who's manipulating us? What characters are trying to manipulate you? Ask yourself those questions. Go through a list of, is the news media manipulating you and all their propaganda? Are the political people that are showing up manipulating you with all their propaganda? What are they manipulating into? What is their intention? Ask yourself those powerful questions. What is their intention? What are they trying to tell me? Why are they doing this? What is the purpose behind all of this? We know that more people die of other things. So why this? What is it? Because it's the poisoned crown trying to program you into fear, maybe? Poison crown. I didn't make that up. They're the ones who called it the poison crown. I'm just giving it the English name. Okay. If we looked at it from that perspective, if you break down the etymology of the word, it's called poison crown. They're trying to feed us poison crown. Okay. No, thank you. I will take God's crown, which is righteous and holy. I don't need to listen to you. I'll go listen to God. What is God telling me? God is telling me that right now we're in the age of righteousness, and we're in an age where the snake and the lion are coming to battle. What does that mean? That means the snake is the serpent, the manipulator, and then we have pride. Who are the leaders that are prideful? They're there and they're self-righteous, they're prideful. They don't want to let down their pride. They look at me, look at me, look at me. Okay, here's the deal. Devil's Advocate gives it to us. I love saying this quote from Devil's Advocate. The last line in Devil's Advocate is vanity. The devil says this, right? Which is the ego. But Satan in the movie says vanity, my favorite sin. All of these stars and all of these people, where do they talk about God? Where? Who's talking about God right now up there? Nobody. They're all talking about virus and this and that. Poison, 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 poison. Every time you hear that word, think the word poison, because that's what they're feeding you. Poison. They're not feeding you God. Where in any of this are they talking about God? Where in any of this are they telling you to pray? Where in any of this are they saying turn to God? God will save you. None of it. They're saying look to a vaccine and a Bill Gates. He'll save you. Look to a Trump who will open the economies and he'll save you. Look to the this and he'll save you. What? No, look to God. God will save you. I ain't looking to these people. Who are they? Please look to the doctors. They'll save you. No, they won't. Every time you go into the doctor, you come out dead. Just kidding. I don't trust doctors. I've had very bad experience with doctors. They don't know my body like I do. So, period, I don't listen to doctors. I'm not a scientist, and I think that that's God's alchemic process bastardized. So I don't listen to the chemists. I don't take medications because chemistry was based on spiritual alchemy. Spiritual alchemy was to help us to connect with God. They took it and then they put it into earthly material things like changing base metals into gold. People don't know that. People will just talk about how alchemists are people who are trying to transmute gold base metals into gold. That's not what it was designed for. Spiritual alchemy was designed to transcend the soul into pure light. Do you think I'm going to listen to chemists? No, that's not God. God, 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 over and over again. Love, 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 over and over again. Come back to understanding that God will give you what you need, okay? Me personally, I'm not going to listen to human. Human is flawed. Look at the disposition of the ages, which is an amazing, I mean, it's pretty cool. It sort of gives us a better understanding. And I had one chart that I can't find. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I found it. It's called Ages and Disposition. Ages and disposition, dispositional, and it's like, prophecy, whatnot. This chart, oh, where is it? How come it's not coming up for me? No. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Well, let's see if I can pull it up here. Okay. What it talks about is the timeline between eternities. So we had the present age, where we had the church, and now we're going into the judgment, which is, revelations is what they say, right? I like it because it breaks it down into these parts that tell us we're in the Masonic disposition, and then we go into the new earth after that. The paradise is restored. I can't see this timeline, so it's going to drive me nuts. Sorry, guys. My computer was sort of acting up before all this, and so I had to okay. Okay. Let's see. Maybe this will come up. Go on and you'll find the charts for yourself. They have all these charts that show you the how the eras were split up, based on the stories and who's going to be leading the charge and what it's going to look like. Oh, this one. This is it. Judgment of believers for works. Judgment. The second coming. Here we go. So we have the second coming. Okay, so here we go. We have the mysteries, the church, and all that stuff. Okay, so we have the kingdom of heaven, which was the church, right? So there was the ascension of Christ. Then there was the kingdom of heaven. And then now we're in the morning of the star. Now we have what's called the beast. And I like this because it's the tribulations, the times of the Gentiles, and then it shows like Armageddon, but we have the false prophet that's going to show up. That's what I like. And in between the false prophet, we have these two symbols, right? The symbol of the lion and the symbol of the serpent. And the symbol of the lion, again, meaning pride. Someone so prideful that they're it. They're the all it, right? They're follow me. I'm the it. And then the manipulation, which is the snake. And then we have the Armageddon. And so the false prophet right now is not a particular. I think people are looking for one person to show up. It's not a person. Remember, the manipulation and the false prophet are people, individuals who are spoon feeding you fear and manipulation. That is where the false prophet lies. They're telling you to believe in the ego rather than God. They're not giving you God. They're not telling you about God. They don't care about God. They're telling you to be afraid, be fearful, and look at science. Look outside of you. Follow me. Let me show you how I can help you. Let me show you. That's not God. God doesn't say that. God says, look to me and I will help you. Look to me and I'll give you the way. Why are you looking over there? I've already told you guys. It's okay. God goes like this to us, even me. It's okay. I got you. Oh, yeah. That's right. You do. You have me. Hello. What am I doing? Nothing to be afraid of. God's with me. What am I doing? Okay. I will continue to go through these charts. I'm going to find the charts that I like. I'll go over them tomorrow. But again, start to look at the etymology of the word. Remember, coronavirus means poisonous crown. Stop listening to the poisonous crown. Anybody who's tied to persuading you and programming you and making you a zombie about this virus is feeding you poisonous crown. Look to the crown of God. That will give you your remedy. That will give you your hope. That will give you the understanding that God is with you. The crown of righteousness is in God, not in some poisonous thing that's happening over there. The crown of God is with you. But you have to be willing to do the work. So go do it. Go read up on this stuff. Dispositional charts. Go look at them. It'll show you a chart and a flow chart and everything. It's pretty cool. I didn't even know they existed till now. It's kind of cool. I'm like, oh, cool. It breaks down Revelation. That's kind of cool. The whole Bible story and kind of the administrative process. I like that idea. I believe God has administration. Why not? People to administer what's going on. Yeah. Okay. And then it gives you an idea of what characters are showing up. Now, when you're looking at the characters that are playing out what this is, right? It's a big story. Look for the people that manipulate you and look for the people who are prideful. And that's it. It's very simple. You'll know that that's not God instantly. It's very easy. You don't have to put on these crazy goggles to figure that out. You'll know when you're being manipulated and you'll know when people are using pride, right? Instead of God. Why? Because they won't even speak about God. None of them are speaking about God. None of them. I'm like, what happened to God in all this? Like, you just all have amnesia or something. You've all just forgotten. People, amnesia happens all the time, even with me, because I'm human. Come back to God. God will give you the answers. Okay. I'm going to send you these, or I'm going to go over these dispositional charts. In about 15 minutes, I'm going to be doing a live video with Imogen on just my Facebook Live. I'm very excited. She's been a follower of Spirit and Coffee since the beginning, and she's going to be coming on today. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to have her in like a little bit. So you guys are welcome to show up. Please do. I would love to have you on Spirit and Coffee Talk on Facebook Live. All right. So I love you guys. I hope this helped. I don't know if Sue's ever showed up, which is so hopefully she will come on here and be able to hear this. If not, I'll go over it a little bit tomorrow so that she gets some kind of understanding of it. Oh, I had somebody said, "Do I speak Bible?" No, I don't speak in Bible. I speak in whatever God puts in my face. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Okay, so I love you guys. Have a great day, and I'll be seeing you all tomorrow. Bye.